So in lesson 27, we're going to talk more about the distributive property and then simplifying decimal equations. So if you remember correctly, when we talk about the distributive property, we take something like 4 times 2 plus 7. There's obviously two ways we can do this. You could add what's inside the parentheses first, which in this case 2 plus 7 would be 9. 9 times 4 is 36. Or you could actually multiply 4 times 2 and then add what times 4 plus 7. So in this case, 4 times 2 would be 8. 4 times 7 is 28. 8 plus 28 is obviously 36. So that's, remember, what we do with the distributive property. Okay. So remember, if we actually start using variables in our examples, so let's take, for example, 4p times x plus 3y. So obviously we can't add x plus 3y together, but we can multiply out 4p times x and 4p times 3y. So if we multiply 4p times x, we're simply going to get 4px. Remember to bring down our sign down to have plus. And then 4p times 3y. And here's what we need to make sure we're on top of things here. We're actually going to multiply our 4 and our 3 out. So we're not going to get an answer like 4p 3y. We're actually going to multiply 4 times 3, which is 12, and then take our p and y and tack it on. So for this example, 4p is going to be, when we multiply it out in the distributive property, is going to be 4px plus 12py. So let's take a look at an example here. We have xy times y squared minus x squared z. Now if we do our distributive property and actually go xy times y squared, we obviously see we're going to get an x. And here, if we multiply y times y squared, we actually count up and we actually have 1, 2, 3 y's now. So we're going to get y cubed. Bring down our sign. Then we're going to multiply x times x squared z. And this time we see we have, when we multiply x times x squared, we're going to get x, we actually have 1, 2, 3 x's, x cubed, and then we tack our y and our z on. So our final answers for this example would be x, y cubed minus x cubed, y, z. Please make sure that whenever you're doing these problems, we actually start counting our y's. So it's not going to be x, y, y squared. We're actually multiplying. We're not combining like terms. We're actually multiplying. So when we multiply, we're going to take x, y times y squared is going to give us a y cubed. X times x squared is going to give us an x cubed, y and z on top of that. So let's take a look at another example. And keep in mind, what we've been doing over the past week through lessons 20, 21, 22, 23, we're starting to actually combine everything and start rolling, and it's going to start tacking on to everything that we're doing. Okay? So if you remember with our rule of exponents, when we multiply, exponents, we're actually adding the powers up. Okay? So let's take a look here. We're going to do the distributive property here. We have 4xy cubed times x to the fourth y minus 5x. So when we actually multiply here, we're going to see that we don't have a number here, so we'll just bring our 4 down. We're going to take x times x to the fourth is going to give us, we actually see we have 1 plus 4 is going to give us 5. So we actually have x to the fifth. And then we have 3 y's and another y is going to give us y to the fourth. Now we can actually multiply our 4 and our 5 out, and our 4 and 5 is going to come out to 20. And then we have an x and an x, which means we actually have 2 x's now. So it's going to be x squared, and then we have our y to the third. We look to make sure if we have any like terms. In this case, we don't. So our final answer is going to be 4x to the fifth, y to the fourth, minus 20x squared, y to the third. So let's take a look at one last example here. We have ay minus 4y to the fifth, and all of that times 2x squared y. And here's where some of you have been asking questions about, well, how should I do this? Should I do this one first? I should do this one first. Let's just keep it simple and start with the far side over here, okay? What we normally would. So we're going to go ahead and multiply this far side out here. We're going to get 2. We don't have any a's. We don't have any other x's. We have ax squared. We have a y and a y. And when we multiply 2 y's together, we get y squared. Now we have a minus here. Make sure we put our minus in there. 2 times 4 is going to be 8. We don't have any x's, so we'll have x squared. Then we have a y to the fifth and a y, and when we multiply those two together, we actually get a y to the sixth. So we can see if we have any like terms. We don't have any like terms. So our final answer is going to be 2ax squared y squared minus 8x squared y to the sixth. So the next part of the lesson we're going to talk about is simplifying decimals and equations. So in this case we have 0.4 plus 0.02m equals 4.6. Now I know I let you guys use calculators, and so this wouldn't be that big of a deal to do. But let's just say, for argument of sake, you don't have a calculator. And let's just try to make this a little easier, especially if you're going to be showing your work. So you see we have all these decimals here, and we want to go, let's turn these into whole numbers to try to make them a little bit easier to maintain. So we see that our smallest decimal number is going to be 0.02. Well, the closest whole number we can put that to is 2. Well, in order to do that, we got to multiply it times 100. So we multiply it times 100, we actually get 2m. But what we can do is actually multiply 0.4 and 4.6 by 100 as well. And if you multiply 100, if you remember from elementary and even middle school, when we multiply decimals by tens or hundreds or thousands, we're simply just moving the decimal over. So when we're multiplying by 100, we're simply going to move the decimal here 2 spots. So we're actually going to get 40, and we get 2 spots here, we're going to get 460. Now we have something that's a little bit more manageable. We'll subtract 40 from both sides, and we're going to get 2m equals 420. Now that we've done that, we can divide both sides by 2, and we're going to come out to a final answer of 210 as our final answer. So once again, when we're trying to simplify decimals and equations, we try to find our smallest decimal number, which in this case is 0.02. We'll multiply it to move to our nearest whole number, which in this case was 2. We multiplied times 100. We'll multiply the other 2 decimal numbers by 100 as well, and it's going to give us 40 plus 2m equals 460, and then we just solve our equation from there. So let's take a look at our last example here. Again, we're simplifying decimals, especially in equations. So in this case, we have 0.002k plus 0.02 equals 4.02. And so we try to find our smallest decimal number. So in this case, it's our 0.002. And we try to move it to our nearest whole number, which we know is going to be 2. So let's go ahead and make that a 2. Now in order to make that a 2, we had to multiply times 1,000. We had to move the decimal over 1, 2, 3 spots, which we know is 1,000 now. So we're going to multiply 0.02 and 4.02 by 1,000 as well. So we move 0.02 over 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. We're going to get 20. And then we get 3 spots for 4.02. 1, 2, 3. We're going to get 4,020. So now we have, again, we have our numbers a little bit more manageable. We can subtract 20 from both sides, and we're going to get 2k equals 4,000. Now that we've done that, we can divide both sides by 2, and we're going to get a final answer of k equals 2,000. So once again, we're going to take our decimal of 0.002k plus 0.02 equals 4.02. And instead of doing it by calculator, we're simply just going to move our decimals over and turn anything back into whole numbers. So we find our smallest one, we moved it over 3 spots, or we multiply it times 1,000, and we got 2k. We multiply 0.02 times 1,000, and we get 20. We multiply 4.02 times 1,000, and we get 4,020. And then we just solve our equation from there, and we come out with a final answer of 2,000.